Hello and welcome along to the On the Whistle podcast. I'm your host, Zayn Nabbi. And of course, we love coming to you live directly after the football action. We have our man in the stadium, Alasdair Howorth, who attended Senegal versus Sudan, right on the tip of the African continent. I'm told he can take a 45-minute ferry to Spain, and he's probably staying there in his Airbnb, and he'll come back to the continent tomorrow. We have our man, Francis Nkwain, who is in Yaoundé, handling some of the biggest games that are on the national broadcaster there. Gentlemen, fantastic to have you here. Fantastic to have this expertise in the house, and great that we can kick it around. And for those watching out there, I'm going to stop talking soon. You better start populating the chats because we want to hear from you. We will hit the mailbag later in the show for the good Francis, the bad Francis, and the Ali, because that's how the chat seems to go. Alasdair, raw thoughts. Sudan had us dreaming when they took an early lead, but Senegal did what they had to do, and they've marched right into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of got the best result we possibly could, right? We, as you said, we lived the dream for maybe 20 minutes. Like we had so much hope. Sudan's story has been incredible. This team, homeless for 3 years, in exile. You speak to the players. I don't think there's a single player in this team who doesn't know someone who's been killed in the war in Sudan. And it's just this kind of powerful image of seeing them. I was at their training yesterday, and they do this thing at every training, before every training, even before the war. They do this thing where they all stand in line next to the captain. The captain yells "Sudan Yaish," which essentially like "Long live Sudan." Sudan lives, and the players clap 3 times, and it's this powerful kind of moment of seeing like, wow, this is truly a team representing a country that is kind of on its knees in many ways, and it's kind of been let down by the world and everything. And so it was great to see them have that moment, to see Mirabella score and everything. But then, Zayn, we also got to see the magic of Senegal. Wow, wow, wow. Sadio Mane, I have to give an apology to him because I thought this man was past his best, and here he is cooking as much as well as he ever has done with those passes, unlocking defenses. So, yeah, I think for me it was a great game to watch. Great to see Senegal kind of starting to hit some of these heights, and again, seeing a kid like Ibrahim Mbaye come off the bench and score. Wow, wow, like 17 years of age.
Ali, I'm hoping we can have a little bit of a back and forth here. And Francis, feel free to come in because in the pregame sort of chat, I was going, again, maybe I have too high standards from Senegal, but there were moments and flashes where I thought, wow, like Mbaye, really good. But for large parts, and the stats will bear otherwise, I accept that. But my feeling, I'm a feeling kind of guy. I like to hug, I like to kiss, I like to eat meat. And my feeling was, for large parts, this Senegal team still feels very ordinary to me. They feel very flat. They don't feel like they can dominate a game in a way that I would have expected them to do so against Sudan.
Ali, if I may, I think Zayn has this tremendous inability to be excited by any other team other than Bafana. So,
Did you
Thank you,
listen to
Francis.
last? Did
Thank
you
you.
listen to
putting
the
that
other pod?
into taking that on board, I can understand why he's unexcited and unmoved by the efforts of a nation, and maybe we're not perturbed by the endeavors of the Sudanese. But I am more intrigued by why Ali kept saying we lived a dream for a moment. Who's the we?
Well,
Francis,
I was
I'm a emotional gun for hire. As soon as there's a good
You
score,
are like
I'm all in.
underdog supporter number one all the time.
Correct. Correct. You should have seen me when they scored. I was the only one standing up in the media tribune cheering. I'm
oh,
fully
Ali,
on board with
brilliant.
Team Sudan. Fully in the same way that when Equatorial Guinea scored against Algeria, I was the only one who stood up in the
You were
press
there.
box
You were
cheering.
there.
All the Algerians looking at me like, who is this white guy? Why is he supporting Equatorial Guinea? I'm such a sucker. Nah, look, I
So
think
I
they
guess you'll
like
be supporting Cameroon tomorrow then.
Francis, of course, of course.
There we
I'm
go.
all in on the
Underdogs
David
United.
all in on the David Pagu trade now. I'm all in.
There we
All
go.
in. No, but it was, I think you're right. Like in many ways, teams like Senegal and Morocco, they've set the standard so high. So we come to expect kind of elite football. And we did see some fragility, We saw when they were in transition, Sudan could create chances. We saw even just simple long balls sometimes cause problems, when you can see the difference someone like Kalidou Koulibaly makes, and that kind of, even if it's not necessarily his defending itself, but the leadership he brings. and the kind of authority he brings. So I think I can see where you're coming from in that, like, oh, wow, we expect this amazing football to blow you away. But, this is also tournament football. Like, how many times are we blown away by a tournament football team? That's for club football when you have months and years to train and to build things. Tournament football is about one thing and one thing only: winning.
Results.
All that matters. All
Yeah.
that matters. And so, even, we see these kind of coaches coming under a bit of fire. I still Pap Chubb, I think Walid Regragui and stuff like that. Like, yes, I understand that you want to see good football, but more what you need to be seeing is there like a method to the madness? Is there a structure? Is there a way where we can see this team beating other big teams? And I think with Senegal there is, right? Like, again, going up against DR Congo, there's no need for them to play expansive football, right? They don't need that. It's too much of a risk. And if anything, I think Papcha has been a breath of fresh air, because I think Ali Cisse he was the kind of perfect example of that, like the perfect kind of authoritarian coach, like the disciplinarian, such a strong will. Like, the football isn't great, but he gets the results, and the results speak for themselves with the World Cup performances, the AFCON trophy. Whereas Papcha, he seems a bit more kind of relaxed. He speaks with the players, he takes on their advice, he says, okay, let's try things. So I think for me, if anything, it's still an encouraging performance from Senegal. And look, they have time to build into this tournament. They're based here in Tangier the entire tournament until the final. I think we sometimes underestimate things like that. They have an easier path to the tournament. I mean, we'll see who they play after Tunisia and Mali play. But, they're avoiding the big guns until the semifinals. And those things matter in building towards the tournament and building towards winning a tournament. And I always say this, like, being good at the beginning of a tournament doesn't matter. Being good at the end of a tournament matters. Getting through the first stages. And I think for me, that's Senegal. It's kind of passed with, maybe not flying marks, but they comfortably passed with I guess, passing marks.
Like, at the end of the day, a 3-1 result is phenomenal in any competition, and especially if you've gone 1-0 down. So they've also demonstrated character to be able to come back. They've not had to play any extra time. They've gotten the result within the 19 minutes quite comfortably. They've excited themselves by being able to blood a young talent that bodes well for the future. And even the long term project of planning towards the summer, this is also really important for them
Very true.
World
because
Cup.
they are
That's
playing
a
two
good point,
tournaments at the
Francis.
same time. These are their preparation games for the World Cup at the same time, and they're getting the results. So I think it's really good, and we shouldn't in any way I don't know, rain on their parade. I think they're doing a very decent job, and I think it's fair for the fans, for the nationals to expect more, to want to be entertained. It's fair. We're very greedy as supporters. Um, the idea of results is only the business of the business people. But as fans, we want to be entertained, and that's what they're there for. So sometimes the complaints are justified because people want to be entertained. But I also think we must learn to understand that we can also be entertained for 30 minutes in a 90-minute game. So that means for 60 minutes, it just may be functional. But when you put these 30 minutes together over the span of a tournament, that's when you begin to see if you have an entertaining team. So for now, I think they're still testing out some little bits, and we must give them credit where credit is due. They're getting the results they need, and they're not losing sleep over it. The coach is very relaxed. The players are in great spirits. Some of the people at the federation are running out some communiques to explain some problems that nobody seems to understand what the problem was in the first.
Yeah,
But that's how bored they are. It's like
it
non-starters are
feels like that.
becoming.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
we're
what was that
generating
about? Like,
nonsense when there isn't even. Yeah, you speak to, like, even yesterday I was at the Senegalese press conference, and of course, it being Senegalese, there's like 100 journalists there because
yeah,
Senegal always seems to bring, like, thousands of journalists to every tournament they go compared to other countries. And I went to every single Senegalese journalist. I'm like, what was this Federation press release about? Like, what was the issue? And every single one is like, I don't even know. Like, there's like
for real.
there's nothing to it. Like, we don't even know what's going on. Francis, one thing I want to ask you, Francis, is one thing I really love about Senegal, right? And I have very strong feelings about this, is the fact that Sadio Mane is not the captain. I love that. I love that. Kalidou Koulibaly is the leader. Yes, Sadio Mane is the star, and you can see that everywhere. And even today we saw that, right? Kalidou Koulibaly is not there. Idrissa Gana Gueye is handed the armband. Like, you're someone who works with a lot of footballers. You understand their psyche a lot better than me. Why, my question, why don't other countries do this? Because I feel like when you hand the captaincy to an attacker to a star, you're kind of just taking away. You're like adding so much more burden to them than they need. You know, they're already carrying this burden. Like I don't like what is your take on that kind of stuff? Because for me, it blows my
Look,
mind that people
I
like
think
Salah
it
are
really is
captain.
down to the character of the individual. In
Mm,
all honesty, some characters embrace it. They for them it's another string to their bow. For other people, it's really heavy, and so it becomes a bit of an like a bit of a weight on their shoulders instead. So I think good management is able to gauge whether a player needs that or if they have
mm,
sufficient authority with their play to be able to command the respect of the locker room, or they need that added accessory that is the armband. But most coaches will tell you that even when they send their team out, they usually be about three, four players who are assigned the responsibility of being leaders on the pitch. And some players don't have the character to take instruction really well. But most importantly, you have some people who don't have the ability to give instructions. So and they don't like it. So I'll give you the example of Cameroon. Well, one of the names that was banded out when we were looking for a new captain at the start of this tournament was Mbuemo from Manchester
Mm,
United. So everybody assumed that he's the star of this Cameroon team, plays at a big Premier League club. If we don't have Abubakar Vincent with us anymore, or Onana, it would be logical that Mbuemo would get the captaincy. But the captaincy instead went to Nuhu Tolo and assisted by Basogog and Epasi. And it kind of like just rotates between them because they've demonstrated they can bring other elements of their personality to
mhm.
that team to accompany the team to get across the line. And I think
Yeah.
good management just does that all the time. Mane is the kind of character who's quite capable of saying, I have enough of an aura around me where if I speak, the younger guys will listen. I don't necessarily need an armband. Now,
Mm,
Koulibaly brings an energy and a presence with him that is slightly different. It's You must also know the people. And here I may be using a broad stroke term when I say the Senegalese male. There is something to be said about stature and the way in which you present yourself. The biggest sport in Senegal is not football, it's wrestling. So for them, leadership for them has this element of physicality sometimes. So I don't know. I think it's just good management to see because you don't. I don't think Mane needs an armband to have a voice in that team. So
exactly.
it would be wasted on him, and so they give it to somebody else because even the referee would still listen to him if he has
Mm,
something to say to the referee. He's famous enough. But then you look at a person who is also in the same country with him in Cristiano Ronaldo, when he turns up for Portugal, they also add that to his arm because
mhm,
his character demands it, so to
mm.
mm.
speak. And so that management system will you play with the hand you're dealt. So I think the Senegalese have a formula that works for them. Different countries do different things, but it really is about man management at the end of the day.
Look, we're going to hit the mailbag soon, but we want you to populate our feed with comments. We do have a comment from Bafana Ngwenya 4419. I can tell that's a South African name. That's got to be right. And
It's
he says,
Bafana.
Sudan
No,
has
he's in
3
Cameroonian.
clear chances. We must be friends, right? The score could have been 3-3. The underdog underperformed. Ali, just a quick reaction to that before we hit the mailbag. What do you think?
The underdog underperformed. I think that's very harsh. I think Sudan can hold their heads very high. They created chances. They looked very good in spells. Yes, they were way too open at times. And you saw certain characters let us down. Mohamed Abdul Rahman, who's kind of the star of the show, had a terrible, terrible game. But you saw shoots of positivity. You saw these youngsters, Amir Abdallah, I'm Taifor coming in, playing really good. Like I tweeted about this thing because on FODMOB, the score app or whatever, you can put up the lineups. And one of the things you can do is toggle the market value of each player. So it's, from transfer market or wherever, where it kind of gives you an estimation. You have like, Mane is 12 million. Once upon a time, he would have been 100 million. Nicholas Jackson's 54 million. Da, da, da. Sudan only had one player in their entire team that even had a value. Everyone else was just 0. And so it gives you a sense not only of the quality difference, but the stature difference, right? These guys are playing, in the Rwandan league, in the Mauritanian league, or fighting for their survival in many ways. To compare them to Senegal is unbelievable, like to have them going up against Senegal. And so for them to come away from playing, in my opinion, the favorites for this tournament and the best team in Africa, and to take the lead against them, go toe-to-toe with them for spells of the game. Yes, in the end, the talent shows, and you see the difference in quality someone like Sadio Mane makes, or Pape in this case. But for me, I think Senegal can honestly hold their heads high. When I speak to the players, right? You speak to the players, and they all say the same thing. Yeah, of course, it's Senegal, but we believe in ourselves. We have to believe. You speak to the fans, they tell you something different. They're all like, our team is so bad, but we love them. They're representing us. They're having pride, and so we support them to the end. So the expectations were not high, and everyone I spoke to was like, wow, we're just, we can't believe we even got out of the group stage. So for me, to compete with Senegal is an achievement in of itself. I think we have to bear in mind the context of what Sudan have gone through and what they're going through to, when you're talking about their performance against Senegal, because context matters.
Sure. Let's read out some of the comments that have been coming in. We had Mona 5252 LA say at Bafana, but really Sudan were terrible, even though I was rooting for them. Followed that up with another comment saying, I expect that there will be no upsets in this AFCON, and I think I am right till now. Smiley face with a little bit of sweat. I think you possibly are right, but let's give it time. Let's see. The AFCON always dishes up something. Maybe Tanzania will do something against the host that we don't expect. Let's just keep watching and let's just keep seeing. I'm going to hit the mailbag really quickly because, as I said, the mailbag section from now until the AFCON is going to be entitled The Good, the Bad, and the Alley, until they start coming at you, Francis, and then we'll rename it. But let's just go through some of our top comments from our last pod. We had at the Fiddle 3652, and their comment was, the Fennec has fangs. I can tell you now, he's hungry and he will bite. Our last pod was focusing on Nigeria, Algeria, and why we think they're the form teams and why we think their draws are too hard and will be there unraveling at this tournament. But this person clearly believes that Algeria will still keep going. We had at Vasek Shavatal say the guest testimony for the Algerian team, and I think this is Ali, and his expectations for the game are wonderful. Would you please produce a short version of it so we can share it with our friends? Good luck to both teams and viva le football. We then had Uchin Wosa 4625 write us a wonderful comment giving their analysis on Nigeria. I'm just going to read you a section. Nigeria is capable of winning the AFCON. However, so is Algeria, Morocco, Senegal, the Ivory Coast. There are other great teams, but I listed those teams because they have the best depth as well as attacking prowess. And I will read the end of the comment. Again, it's such a well thought out one. You want to go and read it. If we score 2 goals, that's Nigeria against any team, we should play one striker on top and defend the lead. We also had Kafliat Babatunde 9211 say, I hope you don't underestimate Egypt. They're one of the favorites. I don't know. They don't excite me. And then we have Ante 20.
Zayn is just bitter because they beat Bafana. Let's
get there. That's going to excite me. We had, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Don't stop. We are all watching all over the world. I'm a 100% Nigerian fan. I'm hoping we succeed in this tournament. And we had Pateo say, I think this AFCON is for the big boys. There haven't been any surprises so far like the last edition in the Ivory Coast, where smaller teams like Cabo Verde and Equatorial Guinea shocked the big boys. Nevertheless, it will not be surprising if Nigeria or any one of the other big African teams win. They're all even. As we say, we love to hear from you. Populate the feed with comments. We will react to it. As you can see, Ali, your factory-fitted mouth seems to have got away with it.
Factory
why are you
fitted
coming
mouth.
coming at me? So racially. Oh my goodness. No, I mean, I think they're all spot on. Look, this, as we've talked about so many times, this is an AFCON for big teams. We have some AFCONs where we have these amazing upsets and these magical stories. Francis will remember Cameroon when his team had to take on the plucky Comoros, and these teams that have done brilliant. But this is a different one. This is one for the Giants to compete in the heavyweights, and that's why for the knockouts, the heavyweight, this is when it gets exciting, right? The group stages have been good in parts, maybe a bit too predictable in parts, but now because of that, we're rewarded with some of these mega ones, like when you guys are maybe we'll never speak to each other again after tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see.
Wow.
We'll see what happens.
That's the perfect way in, because obviously Sunday night is the big fight. It's the Indomitable Lions versus Bafana, a game that I'm not excited about, because I really fear that the momentum is with the Indomitable Lions going into this game. Bafana this tournament haven't looked quite the way I would have liked. Watching the excellent Maher Mazahi do his own podcast, African Five-A-Side, and do some commentary or analysis with Supersport. Francis, let's start with Bafana, because that does excite me, but doesn't excite me, but excites me. Is the fact that defensively, maybe they've set up too defensively under Broos. We obviously know he's a brilliant tactician. He won the AFCON with the Cameroon. I think the journalists were all taking pictures with him at the press conference today, such as the respect they still probably hold for him in Cameroon. But when you look at Bafana and the team that you will be coming up against in Cameroon, I mean, you've got to look at that team and go, wow, they've really offered nothing really attacking me. We're quite ordinary in a 3-2 win against Zimbabwe. And this is one where the Indomitable Lions must be favorites.
No. You're not going to get me to say that the Indomitable Lions are favorites. You guys are World Cup bound. You have a coach who has won this competition. You have a very decent squad and team. You're making it through to the next round with the same points we made it through with. There is no reason to say your reference to momentum. What's momentum in football? It's different teams, different players. But what I would say is I wanted South Africa over Burkina Faso
Why?
because I felt we have a better chance against you guys than we do against Burkina Faso. So we're a
Mm.
team in construction. And our options were come first and get Burkina Faso, come second and get South Africa, or come third and get Nigeria. Those were our options. And when I looked at it, I remember on the show we were doing prior to the game, I said, I need us to come second in this group because of those three teams, I would much rather play South Africa because I think we could get a result because they would allow us to continue our work in progress because
Mm.
your style of play leaves the other team the opportunity to express themselves. Burkina Faso will be at you so much, you'd be spending your time stopping them from playing. Nigeria will just, I mean, where they are right now, and our history with them, our recent history with them, they're just roller compressors, real quick. So for me, I said I'd rather South Africa, not because they're weak or bad, but because of the three options we had, they were the least evil, or the one we could more than likely get a result from. We are a
Francis,
very young team.
I've let you talk, but I'm going to do the
Mm.
journalist thing where I go to the spin doctor and I go, "Oh, we wanted to play Bafana, but we're not the favorites. Oh, we wanted this. We
Yeah,
wanted. Oh no, but we're
no,
not the
because
favorites.
no,
We can
now,
get a result, but we're
but
not the
now I can
favorites.
say it with
No.
chest.
I'm not
No, no,
having it.
no.
I'm not having.
There are
Just say
only
the
two
favorites.
results. There are only
Just
two
say the
results that you
favorites
can
and do
have.
the business. Say the favorites and do the business. Come on.
You're the favorites
Be a
because
big boy. Be a
see,
big boy.
see, you're the favorite, right? But
How are
because
the
you're the
favorites?
favorite, what do you mean by how? I just gave you the reason. You have the coach that won and lost with us. So he knows Cameroon.
Did you watch us against Zimbabwe? Did you watch
Wait,
us against Zimbabwe, Francis?
you're the team going to the World Cup. We're not. On recent form on this continent, in everybody's group chat, everywhere, prior to this tournament starting, where did Cameroon feature?
No,
Weren't we
that's
the
true.
laughing stock for our disorder? So we were not expected to be where
No,
we are.
okay.
So let's
But
not
when the
forget that
tournament
because we've
started to
had
where you
two.
are now, it's changed, right?
Right. So that's why I said I'd rather continue this work in progress against South Africa. Because if we don't make it, it's okay. But if we do, we can continue the work in progress because that's what the mission of this new technical staff is. I think
Mhm.
you're a team we can beat, but I can't say we will beat you. So I think we can beat you.
I,
So I'd rather play you. Because if we play Nigeria, we lose. If we play Burkina Faso, we lose. They beat us in Cameroon during our own AFCON. So if I'm going on stats, I take South Africa because my chances are best with you.
you
Now,
know,
on form,
I'm hoping that we can conjure up the images of 1996 in Soccer City, Francis, where you got
that's going too
introduced to
far back,
Dr.
my brother.
Kumalo.
Some of the people watching your show right now weren't born.
Alistair does not remember it
Ali,
clearly.
were you born?
I
No,
remember as well as Cameroon winning 1988 AFCON. Those memories are about the same for
I
me.
know you watched a lot of old things. That's okay. But
but
where are you born? Answer the question.
I was not born, no.
There you go.
but
So,
but but let
I
me let
mean,
me let me
so
let
to
me let me just come back at you with this quite simply, Francis.
go on.
Like I love the perspective you bring to this, and you know I hold you in the highest regard as I do with Alistair. I will put my fan hat on and say I am not optimistic about this game because of what you have at the sharp end of your team. You've got somebody like Brian Mbuemo who could make us look very, very, very silly, and we've just not got any momentum to make me think that we can. If we're going to win, we're probably going to have to take you to penalties and see what happens there.
Okay.
Whereas in
So
World
I
Cup
would
qualifying, this is what I was going to say. We had built up nice momentum. So even though we had that slip up against Zimbabwe, where I was convinced we were not going to qualify for the World Cup, there was still a lot that went for us in that campaign that kept it going. And I just think that you guys are in a such better position. You maybe answer, and then we'll let Ali as the voice of reason come in. But
Well, I might jump in first just because
okay, you got
I
to
do have
go.
to go to catch my train back to Rabat. What I'll say is I think you both have valid points, right? Like Francis is totally right, and I said this in a piece I wrote. If you had told me a month ago that Cameroon were coming into a game against South Africa and it's on a knife edge in terms of who's going to win, I would have laughed at you. Because Francis is right. Cameroon coming into this tournament was the laughing stock. You'd had the World Cup and then the squads and everything, all the noise and nonsense that kind of come around the team. And so yes, where South Africa coming into it as the form team outside of Morocco, as you have the coach who knows what he's doing. You built up this, you're building this momentum. You have this new exciting team. Da 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 da. Now, and I think that's all very true still. That still holds true. Which why for me, this game is probably the closest of all of them. Maybe Tunisia and Mali is the same. It's on a knife edge. I think I do think South Africa are still the favorites because, as Francis said, you can't but buy too much into momentum. You can't buy too much, and you have to look at the experience. David Tugg has done. Francis can tell us how well he's done in Cameroon. He's done brilliantly in Cameroon. He's not Hugo Broos. He's not got the experience. And also, Hugo Broos is a coach. And again, I'm sure Francis can remind us of that 2017 winning team. Is you can reduce the game to the fine margins. And that's how you get past these. And that's what Bafana did so well at the last AFCON, right? Is they reduced the
Mhm.
game to those fine margins
exactly.
against Morocco,
Agreed.
against Cape Verde, and he can do that. So where I see it, and I have to leave, is South Africa are the slight favorites. It, for me, is the most balanced of all the games, aside from maybe the Tunisia Mali one's going to come. However, I do sneakily think that Francis's boys will get it done. And I'll leave you on that, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Ali, thank you. Travel safe. We'll see you tomorrow, brother.
That will say, Valley.
Go on,
Cheers.
All
Francis.
right. Now it's just me and you.
Let's go, baby. One on one, like the old
Now
days.
it's
The
South
gloves
Africa,
are off. We're
Cameroon. Let's
rolling.
go. All
But
right.
go on,
No, but
Francis.
just like Ali said,
Yeah.
the points he makes, I guess he expresses it better than I did because that is precisely the point I was trying to make. In the very last tournament, you ended up third, I believe, right? So
Yes,
technically,
we
you're the
did.
bronze
With the
medalists.
bronze medal
Yes,
playoff.
you're the bronze medalists of Africa. You have on your bench a coach who has won this tournament. You have Premier League players that are delivering. You have home based players who know each other and have played together for a long time. They understand each other. On the other hand, we have a squad that is getting to know each other. They're young, they're new. We have some inexperienced players at this tournament. Mbuemo's playing his very first AFCON. People forget. And
Mhm.
he hasn't delivered. If you ask the average Cameroonian to present, they're like, he's not doing. And, it's kind of like go back to the point we're talking about the captain ban. Just the fact that he said, I can't take that. as well. A
Mm,
lot of people were kind of like, okay, he doesn't do well when the lights are turned on him. So he kind of like operates quite well if you leave him alone. And everybody then started saying, this is the guy who's got to carry the Cameroon team. He's our hope. And you could almost see it in his game. He has an he's had one really decent half in this
mhm,
tournament so far, but most games it's kind of been a bit of a passenger. But we know he has it in his locker to do the magic that he can. But what we do have is a belief and a hunger. Now, this belief and hunger is what defines the Indomitable Lions. They believe in themselves even when everything tells you you
mm,
have no reason to believe in yourself. That's what we call the Hemley. This inability to know when you're beaten.
yep.
Why Cameroonians have fallen in love with their team all over again with David Pagu is that's the je ne sais pas quoi element he has reintroduced. So you can't say with chest what the team's going to be like, but when they turn up, you either see it or you don't. And when they have that thing, when they click, and you can score against us, you can even score 2 goals, but you see it in the way they run, and you just go, oh, today, it's not your day, it's theirs. And it doesn't matter the score, they'll beat you. And it's that belief that people have had again as fans, just
Mm,
going, you know what, we're happy. We see ourselves again in our team. So even if they were to come home, nobody's gonna go like, just do that part, play like that, run at it. The game against the Ivory Coast, against Cote d'Ivoire, we conceded. And the players, at no point in time did anybody see their heads go down, which is what
mhm,
we had become accustomed to. And they just instead went, hello, and 5 minutes later, they were back in. In the last game against Mozambique, we went a goal down. The players didn't go, oh, they equalized and won the game. And that's what's got people going. That's that indomitable spirit that
mhm,
we had kind of lost. And if this coach has come along just to remind them of what it means to wear the jersey, then the names don't matter. It can be anybody. It could be Zayn Nabbi, but we give you this jersey, and when you wear this, you're indomitable. You don't understand what it means to
mm,
lose. And when you're losing, you think you're winning. And it's that spirit that becomes infectious. And so, from the coach and even his choice of captain in Nuhu Tolu, who's a young player we have worked with since he was age
mm,
16, having these kind of people inform the leadership of the squad. It's no longer about the profile. It's not about how much you cost in transfer market. It's not about what clubs you play for. It's these guys when they're together. The very best Lions, when we were beginning to win, it wasn't because Samuel Eto'o was playing at Barcelona. You know, that team that had those Teofilo Begas and Kotogos and those all of the players of yesteryear, or the Raymond Callas and the Rigobert songs, they were not playing for the top end clubs of international football or the best leagues in the world. But when they put on the Lions jersey, they were indomitable. And that's what we're beginning to see. Little shoots of this like sprouting. And that's what's exciting the fans. They're reconnecting with the Lions. And so the most interesting thing over the last 48 hours is the number of people who all of a sudden is saying, I'd like to book a flight to Morocco. Because people had given up. It was kind of like, okay, they can go through the motions over there. But the Moroccans believed in the Cameroonian Lions almost more than the Cameroonians. If you look at the
mm,
stats for the most sold out games or the most attended games, while Hugo Broos is complaining about the lack of atmosphere and people not turning up for SA games, Moroccans and friends I'm speaking with in Morocco of Moroccan descent, and they're saying the team they want to see is Cameroon because the last time they hosted an AFCON, Cameroon spoiled it for them. Now we run the risk of if we get past you guys,
you
our
play
potential next game is
ex-
with Morocco.
exactly in the
If
courts.
they get past theirs, right? And even at this stage, my Moroccan friends are sending me messages saying, we need you guys to get through so we can wallop you and send you back home because we still don't forget what you did to us way back in '84. And
Mhm,
it's insane. But that's the beauty of the game. And these Lions are saying, if we get past South Africa and we get past Morocco, cup is ours. That's
Mm,
how people are beginning to feel. But go back a week or 2 weeks ago, nobody thought we were in with a shout of getting a win at this tournament. Just a win. So the last time we were at the AFCON, we got one, I think we had one win and two defeats and we came home. Something like that.
mhm.
I can't remember again. It's all a bit of a blur because it was painful. So right now, people are just generally excited. And so when I speak about South Africa, it's with a lot of respect. The respect
Sure,
is for the
sure.
work that Hugo Broos has done. And a lot of people respect that. But
Let
we
me ask you
believe
this.
now,
Sorry,
again,
go on.
we just believe that we have the prerequisite spirit for victory. It's not a formula because it either turns up on the day or it doesn't. So we'll wait for kickoff and we'll see.
Just two more related questions. One to something you said earlier that I'll end with, but keeping it focused on the game, do you think that Hugo Bruce is the difference in this game in winning and losing?
I really do. I really do because we have a coach who we love or have come to love. I love the validation that his appointment represents for local talent, our ability to look within ourselves for the solutions to our problems. So coaching had been a bit of an issue for us, or management of this team, and they looked within and found experience from somebody who's only coached at the local level in Cameroon. He's coached teams in our league, top division, second division. He's assisted. He's been an assistant at the international level and been with this squad actually for the best part of a couple of years as a number two. So he's not unfamiliar to the setup, but he hasn't led. And this is about in game management now, I'm talking about. The ability to motivate, he's demonstrated that he can get a group of lads fired up to understand what it means to represent a country. And he's come up with a formula that plays to the strength of this selection of players he put together. But winning a tournament is fine margins, kind of like what Ali
Mm,
was speaking of early on. And this is where in game management comes to play. It's how South Africa may decide to change things because of the knowledge that coach
Bruce has
Hugo
on.
Broos also has. He knows what the Hemley is, he knows what it means to wear that jersey. So he also knows what it means to make people uncomfortable in that jersey. So the words he might share with his soldiers and the more he sends them out to bring to Cameroon is just as important as the, dare I say, defense tactics that this coach also has to make sure that the noises that may affect the psyche of his team do not come to bear. So Hugo Bruce is the key for this because he understands both houses, him and him alone. In this squad, there's only one player. If we were talking about knowing the players, okay. In that instance, then you'd say there's only Christian Bassogog that was a Hugo Bruce player. Let's put it that way, who won the tournament with
Mm,
him. Okay, so we're not saying he knows the plays, but he knows what it means to wear that jersey for Cameroon, and he knows what it means to wear that jersey for South Africa. Now he might take that energy that he understood for Cameroon and gift that to South Africa. And if
mm,
your Bafana can understand what it means to carry the dreams of a nation, because that's what these 11 young men do when they go out, they carry the dreams of millions. Is getting that
mm,
message across and getting them sufficiently motivated to say it's not about the club I'm coming from. It's not whether I play in the Premier League. It's not whether I've won this before. It's today, these 90 minutes, how I get past these 90 minutes and make sure that the millions of citizens who are backing me, who are believing in me, are happy. That's the challenge that they have. And that's where I think our coach, David, has to step up and make sure that he gets his guys more motivated to make sure that they can get past what a Hugo Bruce has proven he is capable of doing because he's done it before.
Francis, fantastic analysis as always. Um, this is where I think it's a good time for us to leave the pod. I was going to say, for those of you listening out there, look, the pod stays up. You can watch it on YouTube or whichever platform you get it on. Leave your comments. We get to them. We have a mailbag. Every show we'll have the good, the bad, the Ali, or maybe the good, the bad, the Francis. the next time we come up. So populate them here in whatever feed you're getting them on, or go to our social accounts, OTW_podcast on Instagram, on TikTok and X, or search for the On the Whistle podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Francis, I know we'll be watching all the football action this weekend, but with a special lens on Cameroon versus South Africa on Sunday night. I wish you well in the commentary box or the analysis box at CRT in Cameroon. I know you guys are going to do a great job. And come what may, we'll still be friends on Monday morning.
Unquestionably so. Best of luck to you, my brother.
Thank you.
With
All
a
the
pinch
best,
of salt.
Francis. Salagash for now.
All the best. Thank you.